In the game of 5-card draw, sometimes, especially in friendly games, because you're not going to see this very common in casinos or tournaments, you're going to see a dealer saying, okay guys, we're going to play 5-card draw, Joker's Wild. So they'll actually add the 2 respective Jokers to the deck. And these cards are wild, meaning that they can be anything. It doesn't have to be exclusively limited to Jokers. Sometimes the dealer might not have access to Jokers, and they might instead say, okay guys, Suicide Kings are wild. And the way we know they're Suicide Kings is because the king happens to have either an axe pointed at the back of his head or a sword directly through his head, and hence the suicide term. Suicide is not funny. And the other option they might say is something like allergic queens. And the reason we call them allergic queens is because they're not looking at the flower. Instead, they are turning their heads directly away from the flower. So you see how these particular queens turn their heads away from the flowers versus this queen right here, which she has clearly her face facing the flower. The other option, other than a wild card, so with a wild card, you can literally transform whatever the wild card is into whatever rank or suit you happen to need to improve your hand. The other variation on the idea of wild cards is bug cards. Bug cards operate in a very similar manner, but they are restricted in how you can use them. Specifically, usually a bug card can only be used to complete a flush, complete a straight, or be used interchangeably as an ace. So for example, if we were saying Jokers are bugs, okay? So in this particular case right here, my Joker would be completely useless because it would be considered an ace. The best I can do in this particular case is considered an ace. But if inversely I had 4 hearts, I could then complete my flush. Oh geez, I actually accidentally dealt myself almost a straight flush. So in this particular case, you would have a straight flush because you could turn it into that. So that's pretty much what it comes to when it comes to the idea of wild cards and bugs. Like I said, you're not going to find bugs or wild cards being used at any particular casinos out there. It's just, you're never going to find it. And so it's pretty much something relegated only to friendly play between family and friends. I personally do not like wild cards because they inherently mess with the math of the game in my mind. And they also don't necessarily add anything to the game as far as excitement, in my opinion. You could be of a different opinion and you could really like wild cards. And I certainly want, fair word of caution, if you want to use wild cards in your friendly games of 5-card draw, limit the number of wilds you have. I've played in friendly games where people will be like, 2s and 7s and jacks are wild. And that's 12 cards in the deck that are wild. That is far too many wild cards to even have a remote idea of what the hell you have in your hand. So the last thing I want to talk about, though, is variations on the game of 5-card draw. Really, though, there aren't very many variations, and the biggest one I've already talked about, the idea of introducing wild cards or bug cards into your game. The only thing really worth mentioning is that sometimes you might see variations on 5-card draw that does utilize a blind method. Earlier I had said that 5-card draw does not use blinds, it uses this ante system. So some casinos or some players of 5-card draw will use a blind method or even antes and blinds. So I thought that was worth mentioning. The other variation that you will commonly see when it comes to 5-card draw is the idea of jacks or better. Essentially, a player cannot make a bet unless they are holding at least a pair of jacks or better. So pair of jacks, pair of queens, pair of kings, pair of aces, or anything better than a pair. So 2 pair, 3 of a kind, straight, flush, so on and so forth, okay? If all players at the hand have less than a pair of jacks, then all players throw their hands in and there's a shuffle and a redraw for all the players to get 5 new fresh cards. What's important in this, though, is that any money that is in the pot stays in the pot and just rolls over into the next hand. So it's one of the reasons why when I play 5-card draw, jacks or better is one of my most favorite variations on the game. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like by clickety-clacking that like button. And if there was anything that you were confused about or you would like to share your own personal 5-card draw stories, go ahead and leave them as a comment down below. And help us grow the channel by slamming that subscribe button, ring-a-ding-ding-ing that notification bell, because it's the only way you're guaranteed to get those ever so useful push notifications that will inform you every single time we have uploaded a video to the channel, no matter where in the world you happen to be or what time of day it happens to be. Guys, remember also, the last thing and the most important thing is sharing is caring. Share this channel with your friends who happen to like poker or other casino games, because that's the only way we're really going to propel this channel to the numbers we expect. My name's Dominic. This has been the All-American Casino Guide, reminding you, play responsibly.